Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Williams. This is the progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. Remember, you can also send me a tweet to EGBERTOWILLIES. That is, at Egberto Williams. Let us engage. It is politics done right.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Williams, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today. And of course, it's about Kavanaugh. Look, before I even get and bring up the program, I cannot express the disappointment I have in two specific people. Jeff Flake does not impress me, nor am I disappointed. He plays that game all of the times. He tries to show that he's sensitive and cares about humanity, but ultimately, when things are on the line, we know how he votes. We know his behavior. So that's understood. Before I continue any further, please, if you're just joining the program, I beg of you, I ask of you, I request of you to please share this program on your wall, share this program on your page, share this program on your Twitter, your Tumblr, everywhere else. These are important concepts that we're going to talk about today, because I tell you, folks, we are being misled, and folks are attempting to make it seem like this is either, this is normal, this is just how things are going to be, this is just how things are, these are how things have to be. They do not. So please, if you're just joining us, please go ahead and share this program on your wall, your Twitter, your handler, everywhere else. Let's get busy and let's really start working to change things around here, because you know what, folks? Everything that's occurring right now, absolutely everything that's occurring right now, the betrayal of women by the Republican Party, and to some extent by the Democratic Party, but I'll leave that for another day. We cannot continue to support that. And with our voting, with the way we do things, with the way we support things, that is exactly what we're doing. This vote that will put a potential or a possible rapist or a possible alleged rapist into the Supreme Court, a possible drunk into the Supreme Court, a possible person who cares nothing about humanity based on many of the things that he said in the Supreme Court, a person who threatened the left, that said that's when he got mad, talks about a payback. That is who we have in the Supreme Court. Nothing, absolutely nothing out of the Supreme Court at this point in time will have any validity whatsoever. And why won't it have any validity whatsoever? It will not have any validity because, again, Kavanaugh went out there and he said, not in these words, but we can paraphrase what he said, he has a hit list. How do we know he has a hit list? He told us that during the hearing. He has a hit list. That hit list, anything related to Democrats, everything related to anything having to do to progressive values, there's a hit list. Any 5-4 vote out of the Senate is ultimately suspect. Folks, we have to understand what's going on. And not only do we have to understand what's going on, we have to find a way to mitigate it. Yes, it's a Supreme Court position for life. But if we do what we have to do in November, if we do exactly what we have to do in November, remember, nothing is permanent. Nothing is absolute. And things can be changed. Even a Supreme Court justice, there will always be a precedent to make. And that precedent that we should make is to continue the investigation on this guy, and not only continue the investigation on this guy, but get ready for what ultimately can be an impeachment of a judge. Because I tell you, you lie, you cheat, you rape, you do not belong on the Supreme Court. Welcome aboard, Michael Rudnin. Welcome aboard. Let me get to all the people that are here. Michael Rudnin, Luan, Gautier Thomas, Margarita, Kimberly Ren, Lynn Vick, Sally Salas. Welcome aboard. I can't see everything on the phone, but I want to welcome you aboard before I get started with the program. But folks, please share this on your wall, your Tumblr, everywhere, because we're going to get busy and we are going to get serious. This is a shame on America, but it's not something that we should not have expected. So let's understand what's going on now. Let's understand what we have to do mostly, and understand that this isn't final. Now, before I go any further, I want to say something. I was concerned about all the protests that was going on, because remember, if you're a regular listener of the show, I've been saying I didn't want to waste a whole lot of time on fighting this particular issue. I honestly didn't want to waste a lot of time because I could foresee that this was a foregone conclusion. Everything else was theater, right? We were just watching theater. I wanted us to work hard on telling people, because of what's occurring, there is going to be a Supreme Court justice that doesn't belong there. One was stolen, one was thrown there. And what we have to do is work doubly hard to ensure that not only the progressive base, but the independent base and the thinking right base was activated so that they would elect people that wouldn't sell women's souls, that wouldn't sell the soul of the country, that wouldn't sell these things out. Because what we have now is a whole lot of disappointed people. All those activists that flew and drove and ran to Washington, D.C. We have a whole plethora of people now that are disillusioned. It is our job now to blow them back up. It is our job now to say, not because we've lost the Supreme Court means it's all over. But it is difficult to do that when we gave them the impression that somehow this wasn't cooked. We allowed the media to play with us. We allowed the Republican Party to play with us. We allowed the Democratic Party to play with us, giving us the impression that somehow we were going to change this. The plutocracy wanted Kavanaugh. Because you know what? The progressive base in this country is growing. Americans are starting to display what they've always been for a long time now, just not voting that way, and they've always been progressives. They are showing that. The plutocracy knows what that means. A progressive America means they are no longer going to tolerate a corporatocracy that eats them alive. It means they are no longer going to support a corporatocracy that extracts and extracts and extracts and force people to live together and force people to do all the different things that they have to do to partake of their hard-earned income to a few. And the only way to mitigate democracy in America is the constitutional way to do so. And that is via the Supreme Court. We always talk about balanced government. We always talk about the government having three branches. And not only three branches, but that because we have one checks the other, one checks the other. Well, if the presidency is owned by the plutocracy and the Supreme Court was demanded or was placed into effect by the plutocracy, then we don't have democracy. Because anything the people's house, the people's Senate, when we do all of anything that we do, immediately can be overturned by the Supreme Court, then requiring what we call a supermajority to get it around it. Folks, we don't have a hell of a lot more time. That's the truth. We don't have a hell of a lot more time to really take over the parts of government that we can still control so that we can really take control back of this country. It is a shame that we don't learn how our country really works. It's a shame. If you're just joining us, folks, please share this on your wall, your Tumblr, and everywhere else. This is serious. It is a shame that we as Americans don't understand the intersectionality between business, politics, and brainwashing of a community, brainwashing of a country. That is where we're at. And the only thing that's there to mitigate it are those of us who are willing to do that hard work, not only on informing, but on partaking on all that needs to be done to let folks understand what is going on. This is not an accident. For those of you who are regular listeners, you've listened to me talk about the Powell Manifesto. Go to egbertowillies.com, do a search on Powell Manifesto. The reason I'm sending you to my site for that is because I put some prelogs in it as well. And there are several documents that talk about the Powell Manifesto in different modals that I think is important, including an interview I did with the guy, I think, at Common Cause. But folks, we have to understand what's going on here. The reason why they bully this guy into the Supreme Court, in as much as there's much that's going to happen, is because they know they have him. They have him by the pelotas. Ellos saben que él va a hacer lo que es necesario para la plutocracia. He is going to do absolutely whatever is necessary for the plutocracy, because we the people are coming. And before we have the pitchforks, they need to have the legal framework to abolish democracy. And I don't mean abolish democracy writing it down. I mean abolish democracy constitutionally. And the Supreme Court is the way to do it. Here is the worst thing that people haven't seen yet. Ruth Bader Ginsburg has had pancreatic cancer. She is likely not going to outlast two Trump administrations. And you say, Trump cannot last 8 years. Yes, he can. With that guy in the Supreme Court now, he can. Folks, you don't see it. The path has been laid. Trump could be an 8-year president and suffer absolutely no legal recompensas, okay? I am sorry to tell you that. We have a very, very small window to take this country back. A very, very small window. And that is election 2018. And it's not only election 2018, right? Because we may still get sort of a blue wave. We could still get that. But our work would have just begun, because the same forces that have corrupted Democrats like Schumer and Pelosi into neoliberalism is the same ones that are going to try to pick up on Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and many others. We, the people, have to put the fear of we, the people, into politicians if they do not follow policies that support we, the people. People, I don't know if you're getting it here, man. We can sit back and say we don't care about politics. We can sit back and put our heads in the sand. We can sit back and just say, oh, everything is going to be all right. Things are not going to be all right. You know, we talk about fascism and all of that, but this is soft fascism here. We know how to do it well here. It's not going to be like Italy. It's not going to be like during World War II. It's going to be done with the consent of a few. We, the people. The consent of a few vocal, we the people. Those who are benefiting and those who believe because of the channels like Fox News and Talk Radio that somehow, if they're not benefiting now, they will benefit in the near future. Folks, I wish you could see it through my eyes. I wish you could see it through the eyes of many of us progressives out there beating the pavement, trying to bring this to the fold. I wish you could see what is happening in this country right now. For those that are just joining us, because we're getting people in and out, please share on your wall, even if you're not staying. Please share this on your Twitter, Tumblr, everywhere else. This is serious. That Susan Collins could make the speech that she made. That Susan Collins could make Dr. Ford look like a crazy woman. That Susan Collins could do that to another woman. It shows the power of the plutocracy. It shows that by all means necessary, they are preparing for what is ultimately going to occur. And that is we the people speaking in November. But again, for those who haven't heard this part yet, remember the disillusionment that occurs, that will occur tomorrow when they put that alleged rapist into the courthouse. The disillusion that's going to occur with all those women, we have to turn that around and do it quickly. We have to turn that around and do it quickly. Why? Because I tell you what, the battle is not over. The war is not over. It's a pause. But I tell you where. There are now metrics. There are now there is a legal structure being built right now to take away your voice. There's a legal structure being built to take away everything that we know is necessary in a democracy. My brothers and my sisters, hear me. Hear me. I don't care if you're a right-wing Republican Tea Partier. I don't care if you're a left-wing anarchist. I don't care if you're a left-winger, a right-winger, a progressive, a liberal, a conservative. I don't care what you call yourself. We are on the same team. The masses are on the same team. What they've done, if they've given us different points of view to fight each other so that we can keep our eyes off of the ball. That is how it's done. Yeah, you call it divide and conquer, but divide and conquer doesn't look the way divide and conquer normally looks. Divide and conquer is now technologically apt. Divide and conquer is now technologically apt. It is through the different means of communications going targeted to the appropriate people to create the appropriate levels of dissension. It is all calculated. You are just a person in an equation. All of us right now, unless we realize it, are just a number in an equation, are just a widget in an equation to be controlled. And they are all controlling us to come against each other. So what I'm saying, what I'm wanting to do, what I'm doing with, or what we are doing with the Coffee Party USAs of the world. Next week, I'm going to something called the Bridge Alliance, where we're going to be discussing intersectionality and how we get together, all parties and all folks, to work for the better good of us all, and not a plutocracy that is subliminally destroying our minds in such a manner that we continue to feed them as we delegate ourselves into different levels of indentured servitude. Folks, this is not just talk. This is what's happening. It is clear. But we first have to open our minds to understand what's going on. The charade that we saw with giving Judge Kavanaugh plausibility, in as much as a myriad of people came out to talk about the character that he has. He displayed his own character as he attacked senators. He displayed his own character as he threatened to tell people, pay back, Supreme Court Justice, pay back. And remember, my vote is really 5/9. Your vote is 100th. My vote is 5/9, because they all vote together. Brothers and sisters, I don't care if you're Republican, or those of you who know this show know this is a quite progressive, liberal show who loves progressives, conservatives, anarchists, Tea Partiers, and everybody. But we have to see the big picture. We have to see what's going on in America, the destruction of democracy. The destruction of democracy. Before I go into the show, I want to do my first pitch of the day, and that is to say, please go ahead and subscribe to Politics Done Right. Those of you who subscribe, I'm writing a new book, How to Make America Utopia. And you know what? With all of this that's occurring, this makes it into this new book. The book has a group as well. I'm writing it one chapter at a time so that you guys can read the chapters as they come out. But more importantly, why I'm asking you to subscribe is I want your input, because those of you whose input make it into this book will be cited, and we will really show that this is the people's working, the people's doing. So please go, my dear brothers and sisters. The link is in the video on top that you can go to, which is patreon.com/politicsdoneright, patreon.com/politicsdoneright. Please consider subscribing, and you will be able to get not only that book, but also, of course, at a different level, you can also get As I See It, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom. And this is a book that I wrote during the Obamacare debates, and ironically, the same pathologies that we spoke about, from the way the patent system works, from the way farmers are maladjusted to the way the patent system works, and all these issues that hold steady today, it still holds valid in this. So please consider subscribing to Politics Done Right. They have billions of dollars to put out there. All we have is you. I'm going to start the show now. This was just a preamble after listening to Susan Collins, after listening to the betrayal of every American. At first I was saying the betrayal of every American woman. It is not the betrayal of every American woman. If you betray any American woman, you betray every American. If you are standing up for a plutocracy that extracts from every American, then you are not supporting Americans. You're not supporting Americans. Anyhow, sorry for the very long preamble, but you can see the impact that Susan Collins had on us, but it's deeper. And I am begging you all to please engage. Please, my brothers and sisters, please engage. It is difficult sometimes, but the activists are out there doing the hard work, the ones that need the walking and beating the pavement, trying to inspire people to vote. But for those of you that are listening, you do the encouragement. You can do it from your phone. You can do it from your Facebook page. You can do it from all these. Encourage people to engage. For those who are disillusioned that we're still going to have this alleged rapist on the court, please tell them, we don't need you to disengage now. We don't need you disillusioned now. There are recourses, and we can get there. But you have to stay engaged. You must stay engaged. Folks, we have to do this. This is America. I came from a Central American country where there was no real democracy. Going out and trying to protest meant a cracked skull. America is not completely there yet. Yes, people still get a few cracked skulls, but it's not completely there yet, brothers and sisters. And remember, this is not just for my progressive brothers and sisters I'm talking about. I'm talking about all Americans, whether you be Republican, Democrat, progressive, liberal, conservative, right-wing. Folks, we are, until we get to understand that we are in the same boat. We are in the same boat. They've programmed our minds. Our different people have been programmed differently so that they are in attack of each other. Because if we are in attack of each other, we cannot attack that which inflicts damage on this country. We don't keep our eye on the ball. We keep our eye on fighting each other. I refuse to do it. Every single Trumpist is my friend. Every single Republican is my friend. Every single liberal, right-winger, anarchist, they are my friends. And that is what I fight for. Anyhow, today's program is titled, Brett Kavanaugh is just the symptom of what's to come. And what I mean as the symptom of what to come is if we let this just slide, if we don't come out in November and really tear that Congress apart and ensure that we have so many liberals up in there, progressives up in there, and then that after that occurs, we don't hold them to the fire. Because remember, it's not good enough to just throw a whole bunch of progressives on there. All I'm going to say, remember Obama. Remember Obama and Flint. Remember Obama and not having the public option. People are going to say, well, the Senate didn't give Obama. Look, let me tell you something. I gave Obama a pass. I gave Obama a pass because Obama was a black man, the first black person to be elected the president. I felt a certain degree of having to not really hit him too hard whenever the plutocracy adopted him. Guilty as charged, should never have done that. But he did good. He did a lot of good things, don't get me wrong. But, my brothers and my sisters, we ought to not look out. President Obama is loaded with money with his books and loaded his money with the fees that he charges to speak at Wall Street and all of that. He's got a whole lot going on, good for him. But my brothers and my sisters, Republicans, Democrats, liberals, everybody, you continuously have to fight. You continuously have to try to live. So the title of the show, Brett Kavanaugh is just a symptom. What's to come? Subtitle, I never had any doubt that Brett Kavanaugh would be confirmed. The only thing to stop it is fear that there is something deemed discernibly impeachable by most. And that is something they didn't want. And so the scam FBI report kind of cleaned that up for them, made them happy. Anyhow, the circus of senators continues in full vogue in Washington, D.C. Does anyone really believe that people don't already know how they are voting? Calculations are likely being made to determine who best needs cover. Brett Kavanaugh alienated many and is not well liked by neither side. The only question is whether anyone believes something more concrete will come out that sticks. If that is not the case, then the confirmation is a shoo-in. Jeff Flake was just a relief valve to hold time to see what would come out. They will figure out which combination of Democrats and Republicans can take the hit with Vice President Pence on standby. Yeah. And for those of you who don't think, some Democrats are complicit as well. And I am a Democrat. I am a progressive. I'm a left-wing progressive. I'm a democratic socialist who love everybody. You don't think there's something up, my dear brothers and sisters? There's a hell of a lot up. And we have to stop it. We have to stop it. Anyhow, do you know what time it is?
It's time for the weekly blog post.
Okay. Title of the weekly blog post: Brett Kavanaugh, one step closer to Supreme Court. Flake's farce a farce. Flake's farce a farce. And here we go. The charade that is occurring in the Senate in Washington over the nomination of Brett Kavanaugh is no surprise. Many hope that Jeff Flake was genuine in his concern about the country being split apart by the appointment of a partisan. In the end, Flake was just a helpful tool to give skittish Republicans and blue dog red state Democrats cover. One cannot objectively view it as nothing but a calculated move. The script is playing out just like many progressives who did not buy into Jeff Flake stunt knew it would. We are one day away from Justice Kavanaugh. The procedural vote passed 51-49. Senator Murkowski, Republican of Arkansas, evidently she got the break. They said, okay, we don't need you. And you have a tough battle in Alaska. So, yeah, you got a break. She voted against Kavanaugh, the procedural thing against Kavanaugh. But they gained a Democrat, as Senator Joe Manchin, Democrat of West Virginia, voted yes. It's a sham, people. It is a calculated sham, and we are the pawns in the game. And I wish we would realize that we are the pawns in the game. Immediately after Flake's stunt, I wrote the piece titled FBI Brett Kavanaugh Investigation a Fraud. Jeff Flake stunt just that. Stating the following, and this is what I said then. Jeff Flake looked like a hero to progressives and moral Republicans on Friday when he stopped the Brett Kavanaugh confirmation train for a week. We should remember that ultimately Flake still voted Kavanaugh out of the Judiciary Committee for an FBI investigation he had no control over, nor one where he demanded a minimum scope. Jeff Flake is foolhardy to believe that an FBI investigation whose parameters are controlled solely by a corrupt president will find any wrongdoing. Let me first be objectively clear. I am relatively confident Christine Blasey Ford story is true with over 90% confidence when inferring from many ancillary stories. You just have to look. I gave very many examples of being at the University of Texas where a whole lot of this stuff occurred, and the behavior that this guy has. Even though we couldn't convict him in court, we could say that behavior lends itself to give others credibility. We don't know. And given that he did these things, however, it's proven, then he doesn't belong on the Supreme Court. Whether the alleged rape was real or not, most of us believe it is real, but we don't know for sure. Jeff Flake is foolhardy. It was telling that after Senator Jeff Flake made his appeal in the Judiciary Committee, the ranking member, Senator Dianne Feinstein, was not sure what Democrats were happy about, as she seemed confused. She wanted a more specific vote on Jeff Flake's proffer. She would not get it as the Judiciary Committee chair, Chuck Grassley, abruptly called a party line vote that moved the Brett Kavanaugh confirmation forward to the full Senate unconditionally with the yes vote for from Flake. Grassley abruptly adjourned the Judiciary Committee under some 2-hour pretext. When Feinstein balked, Grassley said, it was just a gentleman, gentlewoman agreement. In other words, we may do it, we may not, who knows? And we knew they didn't. Jeff Flake's stunt may impress many, but it would not. It should not. Flake is a man who voted with Trump way north of 90%, including for the tax cut scam, Affordable Care repeal, and much more damaging bills to the poor and middle class. Attempting to soften the blow to his reputation for a flawed Supreme Court justice he will likely support in the end should earn him no brownie points. He will probably vote for a potential rapist and woman abuser to ensure at the end of his Senate job, his lobbying career is guaranteed. Sadly, it is playing out exactly as many of us thought it would. Senator Flake gave MSNBC every indication that he will vote yes again when the final vote comes up. That's tomorrow. Senator Susan Collins said she would make her decision later. As you can see, I wrote this before Susan Collins went on air. Susan Collins is a yes vote. The New York Times reported statements by some Democrats as they came out against the procedure call to move the Brett Kavanaugh nomination forward. Senator Dianne Feinstein of California, the top Democrat on the Judiciary Committee, said Judge Kavanaugh had disqualified himself many times over because of his views on presidential power, gun rights, and abortion rights. She chastised Republicans for an incomplete investigation of the sexual misconduct claims against him and says Judge Kavanaugh's emotional defense of a public hearing last week demonstrated a temperament unfit for the office, which I agree with. Based on all the factors we have before us, I do not believe Judge Kavanaugh has earned this seat, she said. And this one from Schumer. When future Americans look back at these proceedings, let them draw no lessons from the Senate's conduct here, said Senator Schumer of New York, the leader. Look, Senator Schumer also reminded Republicans that they stole a Supreme Court justice from President Obama. So, folks, don't be depressed. Don't be disappointed. Ensure, not by yourself, but ensure everybody you know is going to vote. Ensure not only are they going to vote, but ensure they are informed voters. Ensure they are educated voters. Talk to your family, even the ones you don't like. If you're a progressive and it's the ones on the right, talk to them. You're the first person they're going to listen to. Talk to them from the heart. Let them understand what the plutocracy is doing, how it is doing it, what is really happening in this country. And trust me, folks, that's what's really happening. Okay? Let's see now. I'm going to go to the let's see if I have enough here to, let me go ahead and do this now. My dear brothers and sisters, let's see. I'm trying to make sure that I start from the top and not from the bottom, and I can never realize which side is the top, which one is the bottom from how long it's been there. So what I'll do is I'll just go through them in order from the top. Okay, Michael Rudnin, Jeff Flake isn't the only one that might flip. Susan Collins is also feeling the pressure. Yeah, but neither one of them are flipped. He will be the Supreme Court Justice tomorrow. Let's start getting people prepared for that, because it is important that we go to the next step. We don't want to keep raising people's hope that somehow the plutocracies didn't give their commands and that these people have to follow. They have to follow. They can only not follow if things sort of get away, and they have to then say, hey, look, if we don't do this in the long run, it's going to be worse. Carl M. Houston, welcome aboard. Jeff McKinley says, people get irritated when they're target of character assassination for political purposes. He wasn't a target of character assassination. He assassinated his character himself. If you take a look at his yearbook, I mean, just saying that, I mean, he just about admitted to, if not gang rape in his rape book, that there were a whole bunch of people who used a woman as just a spare rag in the way they talked about Renate Alumnius. Come on, folks. Who talks about a woman that way? Even if it's somebody that you don't think, even if it's somebody that you think is like sort of loosey-loosey. Which real man puts in a permanent yearbook and speaks that way of any woman? Which real man does that? Tell me. Which real man can, suppose that was your mother today. Maybe your mother had some issues when she was growing up, but permanently in a yearbook for her kids to see that. So no, my dear Jeff McKinley, my dear friend, I love you as well, but you are absolutely wrong. He had no right to be irritated for some of his irresponsible, privileged behavior, my dear friend. That is the behavior that I saw when I went to the University of Texas and was a lowly pizza delivery person and watched those rich frat kids take advantage of women, have the women drunk, have the women doing things they weren't supposed to do. I saw that with my eyes. It's not inconceivable that that was Brett Kavanaugh's behavior. Can he go to jail for that? No. Can he be put down for that? No. But does he belong on the Supreme Court if even in his youth he did that? Absolutely so. And in the display that he gave to Congress, it doesn't lend itself either for that behavior. I want you guys to think about something. I normally don't go racial, but in this one I will. Think about Obama behaving the way that guy behaved up there, and think about what the media would be saying. Think about that for a change. When we talk about privilege, that is the sort of thing we're talking about. Michael Rudnin, perhaps the most chilling line in Kavanaugh's speech was what goes around comes around. Brother Rudnin, you hit the nail on the head. He has already promised that he will be exacting revenge from the bench. Women's rights, look out. Voting rights, look out. Union rights, look out. I'm telling you, people, this requires a complete dominance of the other two branches of government. We require to have complete dominance of the other two branches of government for the next several years. Because what we have on the Supreme Court now is the representatives of the plutocracy. And that is the most powerful branch that can execute singly. The only recourse we have against that branch of government is impeachment, which is very difficult. So therefore, we have to control the presidency, which means Donald Trump must not be given another term. And two, we have to control the Senate and the House of Representatives. I tell you better. What we should probably start considering is, well, I won't go there because that's another plan. Welcome aboard, Margarita Zambrano Arevalo. Thank you. I don't know if I saw you at the show before, but welcome aboard. Michael Rudnin, 5 accusers isn't character assassination. Neither is lying under oath. Kathleen Morgan, welcome aboard, my dear friend and coffee party associate. Dawn Kamel, hello. Daniel Ledo, 1 accuser was enough to assassinate his character. Welcome aboard, Marianne Richards. Thank you for being here. Sally Salas, it's obvious that our government does not represent the people. Our government does represent the people. I want to say it in this way, but I understand where you're coming from, but I want to say it this way, my dear friend. We get the government we deserve. A lot of us stayed home. So the government, it is true, doesn't represent most of the people, but we allowed that to happen by allowing a minority of the people in the United States to elect a corrupt president, a corrupt Congress, and a corrupt Senate. And in so doing, create a corrupt Supreme Court. But we can mitigate that in November. But we have to be out there. We have to ensure that people are voting. We have to do that. Folks, I forgot to tell you, this is of course, a call-in show as well. You can give us a call at 646-716-5812. If you want to air something, if you want to just let go, 646-716-5812, and you'll be on air right away because there's nobody in front of you. Marianne Richards, good afternoon, my friend. Michael Rudnin, once the only that was allowed to speak in front of Congress, they don't want to hear the rest. Absolutely. Michael Rudnin, truth, though that's infuriating to the end. Kathleen Morgan, good afternoon, my friend. Good afternoon, Kathleen. Michael Rudnin, the Powell Manifesto being discussed now. Absolutely. And thank you for putting that link. Michael, you do great work. Thank you kindly for putting that in there. Daniel Ledo, it's a shame you pretend to speak with knowledge, and yet you seem confused as to the type of government we have. The reason I'm going to answer that today, Daniel Ledo, is because for the new people that are listening, I want them to know that that message that you just sent there, for all practical purposes, is full of crappa, right? Everybody knows America is a representative democracy. In other words, we elect people who goes and represent us. However, even a representative democracy, which is called a republic, can be corrupted. And the main source of corruption in our current representative democracy is gerrymandering, where we programmed into our system that a minority can rule. Terrible. What Daniel Ledo may fail to realize is one of the reasons for the Bill of Rights is to prevent what he fears, mob rule. And it has done a fairly good job thus far. But he doesn't understand that because he buys many of the other things, my dear friend. You and I should have some coffee and I am from Central America. When I came to the United States and became a United States citizen, I had to learn the United States Constitution in and out. I had to learn the way America functioned in and out. So those people, those foreigners that come into this country and get their citizenship, rest assured that they understand the workings of America much more so than many Americans. And the reason why is we were forced to become Americans, not forced to become, we wanted to become Americans, but we were forced to understand what America is, what America was, and how it was to be. All right, let's see. Who else? Daniel Lado, he was a boy, not a man. I tell you something, at 15 years old, I was very responsible. I was already playing with the Dynamites, and we had music, and we were out there doing stuff. Not only that, but I already had papers that I wrote. At 17, look, 17, when these young guys in the hood at 17 commit crimes, the first thing they do is treat them like adults. Don't give me the crap, my dear brother, that somehow he was just a boy. He was just a boy, so he wrote in his yearbook that we abused women. I learned from I was a toddler, you do not abuse women. If his father didn't teach him, then he didn't have a good father. My father taught me never abuse women. I have never once abused a woman, ever, because I was taught. And there are many who've learned thereafter. Kudos to you, my dear friends. But if you did something of that nature, don't say you belong on the Supreme Court. I think that is good reason for you to never be on the Supreme Court. And I don't care if you say, well, I'm a good person now. No, that doesn't wash. There are too many good persons out there that have lived good lives, that have done things by the book, that are more apt or more qualified or a better temperament to be Supreme Court justices than us trying to give someone a pass because he has privilege or because he's from a privileged background. I'm sorry. Hell no. Of course, we don't have control because the plutocracy is installing him tomorrow. Okay, let's see. Jason Brascom, huge loss for Democrats. Yes, it's a huge loss for Democrats. Patricia De Galani, how you're doing, my friend? Yes, I am saddened as well, and you are correct. It is a sham. But you know what? If we do our job and we get people out there voting, it will be fine. What we have to do, my dear friends, is start being cheerleaders. We have to start telling people it's going to be okay. You know why it's going to be okay? Because we can make it okay. And how do we make it okay? By staying engaged. Okay, I need to do one more pitch for Politics Done Right because, my dear brothers and sisters, the only way we are going to keep this up is if we can keep up the Politics Done Right and all the other progressive programs, not influenced by the plutocracy, by the corporatocracy. The reason we are so misinformed, the reason we are so ill-informed is because it's by design. They have to do it. You cannot have an economic system that continuously extract out of people, take away people's earned income. You can't have a system that does that. And people, as people get more intelligent, they ask, why? Why, if I'm the one producing all the products, most of the spoils go elsewhere? And for those who say, well, you go market it yourself. Yeah, but there are other people marketing it for you. Is Jeff Bezos really worth $160 billion? No. That is the excess labor of all those people that he hired. Does that inherently mean the excess labor of those people belong to Jeff Bezos? In other words, what Jeff Bezos didn't pay you belonged to him. We have to understand how economies really work. Most of us don't. In my first book, Politics, as I See It, Class Warfare, the Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom, I did some of that explaining. But it was different times, and it was sort of catered towards the Obamacare debate, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All the things it talks about, patents, et cetera, still holds. How to Make America Utopia is a different kind of book. This one is going to be one that really tries to educate all of us. And you know when I say all of us, I mean myself as well, right? Because if you go to patreon.com/politicsdoneright and subscribe to this to this program, and like I said, you are going to be a part of getting the book out, because inside of along with this comes a group with this book. And in this group, you are going to be able to give advice as for, hey, maybe we need to have this in the book. Maybe we need to have that in the book. And I'm going to be listening to what the people say in that group. And I'm going to include that in the book. And if I include your ideas in the book, I guarantee you will be cited with your permission, of course, in the book. And this book is going to be sold on Amazon and everywhere else. Amazon, Barnes & Noble, everywhere else. So this is going to be just like I believe in collective efforts in just about everything. I believe in collective efforts with knowledge. And I ask you for your support on Politics Done Right, because there's a lot that we have to get done. I'm going to the Bridge Alliance in Washington, D.C. next week. So there are a few days that I'm going to try to do the show from D.C., but there may be some hiccups because we have to do some taping of trying to get people together, working together. It's a pretty big conference that where we're really trying to educate folks so that we can really take our government back. But we need your support, and we need your support. We need you to go to patreon.com/politicsdoneright, patreon.com/politicsdoneright. We need to change what's going on in this country, and it's not going to change itself. And by us every day hoping it will be better or thinking somebody else is going to solve it for us, it's not going to happen. Every single one of you that's listening to me, share these programs. Share folks and ask them to support these types of programs. Ask them to support the TYTs, the Majority Reports, the coffeepartyusa.com. Right now, coffeepartyusa.com is in what we call the our membership drive. There's a whole lot we're doing. Here in Kingwood, we've just established a new coffee party group. And that coffee party group is going to be uniting people from various backgrounds. The idea is if we can see that we have more in common, that we can work together and not let the politicians through their plutocratic masters force us to be at each other's throats. I'm not going to be at your throats. Daniel Ledo comes into this room every time and gives us hell, and few others. And do you think I will ever hold that against my friend? Daniel Ledo, you're my friend. Mike Cizak, you're my friend. Those are our resident right-wingers in the group. You're my friends. I am going to turn you at some time. Not I, we will. We will. We will. But folks, we need to have these groups supported. So please go to patreon.com/politicsdoneright and become a subscriber. It's very, very inexpensive. A coffee a month, not less. Also consider going to our membership drive, coffeepartyusa.com, because we are really building local community groups and connecting community groups. And why are we doing this? Because we know it's not you. Even the folk here that slice us up with words and tell us all the things that they probably wouldn't even tell their worst enemy. I know where it's coming from. It is programmed. It's an indoctrination designed. It's an indoctrination designed to put us against each other. And I'm not going to fall for it. I talk about all those things that says, I know what's happening here. I know what's happening. I am not going to have it allow me to hate any one of you. Absolutely none. Because if what I'm saying is true, how can I hold that against you? Think about that. And I want other folks to think about that as well. You cannot hate your Trumpist brother. You cannot hate your liberal brother. You cannot, because we are all programmed in these different ways to be at each other's throats. I was speaking to a minister at Starbucks, a pastor, and he wants to tell me all of the time, consistently, but you know, Egberto, I'm a conservative. I'm a conservative. I'm a conservative. Then he says, but you know, there are a lot of progressive values that I like. And there are a lot of things that I want to do. And I looked at the pastor and I said, Pastor, as a pastor, you should be neither. You shouldn't be a liberal. You shouldn't be a progressive. You shouldn't be a conservative. You should simply do Jesus's work. And here I am. I'm a humanist. I am not a religious person at all. I respect religious people. My wife is a deacon. What I wanted to tell that pastor is coming from him. It should not be about Republicans and Democrats. You should have an alliance to no party. You have an alliance to people and policy. When I sat down in Starbucks and spoke to a Republican woman for over a half hour, we were agreeing on policies and we were talking about different things. She assumed I was just a Republican because of the way I was talking to her, and she assumed that. And later on, I kind of thought, oh, I don't want this lady to leave here thinking that I'm a Republican. I wanted her to see me for who I was. So before she left, I said, I'm a left-wing progressive liberal. Her eyes opened big. She turned red and said, but you're so nice. Most people are nice. We have been programmed to go at each other's throats. Most people are nice. That is what we're trying to solve. We can't allow the Kavanaughs of the world, the McConnells of the world, to really change who we are. Folks, please go to patreon.com/politicsdoneright, patreon.com/politicsdoneright. Be a part of this family together. And you know what? Right now we only have Politics Done Right as the only show. There are other things in store. We're going to have Zoom where some days we're going to bring all of us in through video calls for the members and shoot the bull and talk about things that we need to talk about, all through video conferencing. Zoom, look it up. And we're gonna have that a Politics Done Right Zoom, a Zoom Politics Done Right, where we're all gonna talk together face to face in real time. Those are all the things that we have planned to do. I have planned for other shows as well. I want to get a good conservative show out, but it's hard as hell to get a conservative who is willing right now to say, you know what, I am like you. I want to talk. I'm just from a conservative perspective, not an evil perspective, but a conservative perspective. I also want to put a duality show on where we talk about, two sides of the issues talking together, not fighting like the crazies on CNN or MSNBCs where they have to have a fight to keep your interest. We want to keep your interest by it being interactive. So there are a lot of things that we want to do, but we have to get up to 1,000 users so that we can actually fund a producer. Right now, it is all me. And it's killing me. Writing, producing, and everything. But you know what? It's worth it. Please go to patreon.com/politicsdoneright. And folks, remember, for all those that are disillusioned right now, don't be. Don't be disillusioned right now. We still have the power, but what more than anything else we have are the numbers. And if we perform as our numbers are, we win. And when I say the numbers are, I don't mean 60%. I don't mean 70%. I mean 90%. Me speaking to that Republican woman proves what we are. Folks, go to patreon.com/politicsdoneright. We are at the end of the show. Thank you so kindly for being a part. We have to get out of here. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right, and you know how I end this baby. I am out.
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is the progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. Remember, you can also send me a tweet to EGBERTOWILLIES. That is, at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is politics done right.
1, 2, 3, 4.